Bullet Train is a new action comedy that just dropped starring Brad Pitt and featuring actually quite a few different celebrities that you might not expect. That's actually a pretty good way to sum up the entire movie in general, not what you would expect. Going into the movies, I knew it would be a fun popcorn movie, as my dad likes to say, which are just films that you can kind of turn your brain off and enjoy the ride of ridiculous stunts and choreography that are enhanced with the humor of the characters. But honestly, Bullet Train exceeds even that because I think this is one of the best movies in modern day cinema that really nailed down the idea of setup and payoff perfectly. If you've never heard the term Chekhov's gun before, it's a term that refers to details placed in a narrative of a story, meaning that if you mention a gun on a wall earlier in the story, it should be important to the story later. Literally everything in this movie, as small as it may seem, is important to the story later. A conversation about a vest, a costume character that they run into several times on the train, a water bottle, a snake, everything that they mention very subtly becomes important to the plot. So Bullet Train isn't just a stupid comedy action movie where the plot doesn't need to make sense. They took time to craft the plot and backstories to every single character in the film, and there's a lot of them. The film also starts seeming like a murder mystery when you start getting into the second and third acts of the film, making it not just about retrieving the briefcase, but also about who is killing who as you learn the new characters. I might get into spoiler territory, so now's your fair warning. We good? Alright? Let's do it. So Brad Pitt is playing a character called Ladybug who does all these sketchy illegal jobs but has been seeing a therapist about turning around his life and becoming a better person. He doesn't want to hurt or kill anyone, and any confrontation that he has throughout the entire film, he tries to de-escalate the situation first and just talk it out. He is also basically the walking embodiment of bad luck, so anything that he tries to do ends up turning sour in the most comedic and oddly satisfying ways. That's the reason he gets the name Ladybug. The person who is directing him gives him that name because ladybugs are a symbol of good luck. Now there are a lot of assassins and hitmen on this train for all basically the same purpose more or less, but Ladybug is stepping in for someone who called out that day and he just wants to have a nice, easy, snatch or grab kind of job. Which is exactly the opposite of what it becomes. The film gives you so many characters and so many backstories that you don't really imagine them being connected in any real way until the movie pieces it together one by one. Now I'm not going to talk about every character, but I will mention a few highlights. From the trailers alone, it seemed like Brad Pitt would be my favorite character, a very lackadaisical type character who really doesn't want to be in the situation that he's in and very verbally expresses that. But honestly, Lemon and Tangerine steal the show in pretty much every single scene that they're in. Their witty banter back and forth is so comedic yet feels so organic at the same time, and they really sell the idea that these characters have been together for a long time. And Lemon's love for Thomas the Tank Engine and how the characters from that show molded him into the man he became and taught him his philosophies about people at first seems to be just a point of comedy, but it actually is very vital to his character. Not only is it a big part of his character, but also a big plot detail that throughout the movie comes up time and time again. I also really appreciate that this movie isn't scared to lean into stereotypes, but also go against stereotypes at the same time. Brad Pitt is the star of a comedy action film, yet he is very much not reflecting the stereotypical action hero vibe that we are used to seeing him portray. This is a far departure from characters that he's played like Mr. and Mrs. Smith or from World War Z. He's not super confident, he's full of bad luck, he tries to reason with everyone and doesn't want to fight, and he doesn't even want to be on the train anymore after basically the first stop. Lemon and Tangerine are twins that look nothing alike, and where Lemon looks like he would be more of the muscle of the group, he's actually more soft-hearted and the people reader. He doesn't immediately turn to violence to answer everything, but rather rely on his lessons from Thomas the Tank Engine to point him in the right direction. And on the other hand, you have Tangerine, who is the smaller white brother, itching to fight at basically every point in the movie. You have an innocent, younger looking chick who is anything but. And for even more stereotypes, you have the Hispanic assassin that howls at the moon, the Asian ninja mobsters, and even the big bad Russian main villain. So I appreciate the movie's ability to lean into stereotypes and tropes, but also go against them at the same time. And with all that being said, the movie does have some emotional moments that don't get any less heart-tugging because of the way the movie was written. Certain character deaths or motivations you can really feel in their actions or the actions of others, so it's actually incredible how a not serious movie can still find a way to have those moments. The man who directed this film is also the same director for Deadpool 2, and you can really feel that throughout the entire film. The way the comedy is handled, the way the action sequences are handled, and there's even throwbacks to Deadpool 2, or not throwbacks, but rather little subtle nods to one of his other movies. Domino from Deadpool 2 is in this movie, and she's under some kind of like inflatable cat costume. And if you remember in Deadpool 2, Domino survives a huge accident from falling into an inflatable. Well, Brad Pitt does the exact same thing in Bullet Train, and her costume is what saves him. You also have the death of the Invisible Man in Deadpool 2 turning out to be the smallest Brad Pitt cameo ever written. Well, in Bullet Train you learned that the person who actually called out and Ladybug took the place of was Ryan Reynolds' smallest cameo ever. So just little subtle nods like that from his previous films don't go unnoticed, and they are fun to see when they do pop up. Towards the end, this film really does just go right off the rails, no pun intended, and has much more of a cinematic ending than you would expect considering the vast majority of the film is set on the train itself. So will this movie go down as one of the most incredible and cinematic blockbuster experiences in modern day? Maybe not. But it is a fun comedy action movie with fun characters and a story that is so well written from beginning to end that even the smallest details are important, which isn't easy to do. That being said, this movie is fantastic, and I recommend it to anyone who basically enjoys action comedy movies, and if you're on the fence about going to see it, I highly recommend it. So I give this movie an 8 out of 10, because it was one of the most fun movies that I've seen in recent history, and if anyone asked me to go see it again, I would not hesitate to say absolutely yes. Leave a comment down below if you've seen the film and tell me what you think. Leave a sub to show some love, and have a marvelous day, my dudes. Peace!